your attention for one moment? No. Thank you so much. Hey, we're not starting yet. Don't worry. We have about 10 minutes, but Jody, who really runs the show, you know.
Sound check. Test. 1, 2. Sound check. Test. Check. Can you hear me? Check. Test 1, 2. Check. 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 So that one's turned up through here. Okay. So I'm going to cut the line out. I just turned that up like this here because I was afraid to go too loud. So let me turn this up, max. Well, no, just leave it about where it is. Okay. Test. Okay. Test 1, 2, 3. Okay. Check. Check. Check.
Yeah, I think we'll just stay back here when she gets going.
Okay. I've got to be up there. I'm not anymore.
All right, Joe, are we ready?
So when you come to your video, I'm just going to exit out of the PowerPoint and just bring the video up and then start it.
Okay, yeah, we can just, just take a minute. I'll talk about it a little bit so you can pull it up and get it ready.
I should warn Scott that it could be a little bit loud.
Only for 90 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's right there.
He's right there. I'll go.
Makes you want to go camping. I mean, awesome.
They are, yeah, Darren's like really pushing me to, and the kids too, because they had a lot of fun camping. They're like, when are we going to go camping again? And I'm like, oh, the air mattress. Yay.
Sorry you're not going to be able to see much, but is that interesting? Or to make you know it out. Well, good. Whoa, that is loud. Good afternoon. Oh, that was bad. Good afternoon. Whew. Is this a little loud, or are we okay? It's a little loud. I'm hearing it's just a bit loud. I'm okay now? Okay, good. Wow. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to, can you believe it? It's the 2018-2019 academic year, which to me really does seem a little bit like the Twilight Zone. Like it's very bizarre. You know, I think it's important at this point to recognize that a lot of our colleagues, many of whom are in this room or have been, never left. They've been working extremely hard to get our computers set up, to get our campuses ready, to get the bookstore stocked, to get the books closed. The list goes on, to taking care of our gardens. The list goes on and on. So let's give all those folks a round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you. And for those of you who got a little bit of a break, thanks, Jeff. There you go. And for those of you who got a little bit of a break, I really hope it was that kind of restorative break, and that we are just really happy to have everyone back on campus. We're super excited about this year, a lot of good stuff going on. We know that this is kind of an unusual start to our in-service. I refuse to call this duty days anymore. I think it's a very bizarre thing that we have to come back for duty day. Who wants to do that, to come back to do their duty? So I'm calling it in-service. It's a weird kind of week, though. Because of where the calendar fell and some other things, we have a half a day. So you'll be very happy. We cannot stand here for long. I know that makes you happy. And we're in the afternoon. Yeah, I know. Yeah. We're in the afternoon, which I'm telling you, I'm not near as peppy in the afternoon as I am in the morning. So you're not going to get my best, but that's okay. But I want to thank the team who's put this together. A lot of heavy lifting by Joy, so thank you very much. Tried to make this afternoon informative, but also not just talking heads. You know, we know that the last thing that you want to do, and then sometimes our students want to do, is to sit and just listen to people chat at you. There'll be some of that, because I just like to chat, but that won't be the whole afternoon, okay? All right, so I thought we'd get started by me just giving you a quick update. Joy's asked me to do that, and we will be sending out this PowerPoint presentation. There's not a whole lot on it. I know a lot of you can't see it, but we'll send it out for those people who can't see or can't be here today. And I wanted to talk about just 3 little things, and I'm a little worried because a moment ago there was a piece of pasta on the ground, which I am not graceful at all, and if I hit that pasta, but now I can't find it. Thank you, Janet. She saved me. Oh, wait. What's this? That's a stick. That's less deadly. Thank you very much. Okay. I just could see me hitting the pasta. Yeah. So what I thought we'd do today is, as we traditionally do, just take a quick look at where we were last year. I don't want to spend an extraordinary amount of time on it. We've done just a huge amount of work in the past year, but really then to pause and take a look at some indications of where we are today and spend most of our time about going forward in the future. So when I look at what we did last year, and I'm using the term last year very loosely, I really mean everything before today, right? So not so much an academic year, but things that we've done last year and this summer. There have been a lot, and this is a very partial list. So we finished our restructuring, repositioning work. You'll remember in the fall of 16, we did some very significant budget cuts, and that seems a long time ago, but the truth is most of those went into effect in this last year. This is when we felt the fact that we lost about 17 of our colleagues, that we shifted duties and responsibilities. And this year we need to pause and figure out what's working, what's not, have we identified gaps? But that work is huge, and it's your work. So I really appreciate that work. I'm glad we've done it. It does put us in a much better position going forward. So we did that work. We've spent a lot of time on our culture. Something I've come to call the culture of caring here at CLC. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to show you some data about that. In my mind, it's the most important work that we do. And again, it's your work. So I'll show you some of that data. Whoops. First, we got through HLC accreditation last year, which means we got through our 4-year reaffirmation of accreditation. And I know I've shared this with you before, but I just have to say again, it is a huge, heavy lift, and we are thrilled. So thank you to Wendy and the entire team and all the good work you do. HLC had no recommendations for us, which is a minor miracle, but I'll take it. And we were very happy about it. It's affirmation of the good work. And now we're in the phase where we do a quality initiative by participating in their Student Success Academy. So we're excited about that. But thankfully, we don't have to write for HLC this year. That is a good thing. We have focused on enrollment management. And you're going to hear me use that term over and over. And I just want to reiterate, we focus on enrollment not because we care so much about the numbers. Who really cares about the numbers? We care about the students we're serving, and that's why we have to focus on enrollment. We care about the students who bring in tuition because that tuition allows us to do all the amazing things that we do. So when we look at enrollment management, it's both recruitment and it's all the student success work. And I think that we moved the needle quite tremendously in this past year. That work will never end, but that has been a tremendous effort on the whole college's part, so thank you. And then finally, we developed a new strategic plan, which some people have said, why does that have to take so long? Dear God, we've been talking about it for a year. Why? Well, it kind of does, because it's very iterative and everyone has to have the opportunity to give input. And you did, right? You gave input electronically. This time last year, we had sessions on it. We have a new structure of our strategic plan, and this afternoon, you'll work on just fleshing some things out. But it's going to guide us for the next 5 years. Big, heavy lift. And then finally, we celebrated our 80th anniversary. That was just, Julie Jo, where are you? There's Julie Jo. She led the whole party in conjunction with Jesse and Ken and Jana. That's right. Sorry, Jana, you're right in front of me and I forgot. We understand that we did this at kind of a weird time. Like, you weren't here. We get that. We did it in conjunction with Brainerd History Week, and that's their week, so we had to do it then. It was a wonderful event, and I have to tell you that we've asked that team to leave up the tour, right? It's a self-guided tour around, because you have nothing to do for the next few days, right? Just nothing at all. In your spare time, or when you want to take a walk, pick up the self-guided tour on the table. Is it still out there, Jody? And walk around campus. There are big pink posters, is that right still, Julie Jo, where you can walk through and see all the changes over the years. And by door number 1, there is an amazing poster that talks about CLC in the early years. If you do nothing else, take a look at those 19 students that began in 1938 and think about where we are today. So that was a huge celebration, and we really appreciate that, and thanks for that team's work. So that's kind of those are the big things that we worked on. But the one I really want to talk about first, about when I look at where we are today, is this conversation about culture. You know, we've talked about it a lot, and it's hard for me not to belabor it. But I will tell you that the reason I think culture is so important is because we ask people to work so incredibly hard. I recently talked to some students, and we talked about the fact that people who work in community colleges don't do it for the prestige, the esteem, the paycheck. I mean, that's not why we're here. We're here because we believe, and we're very passionate about building futures. And it's very hard to ask people to work at this level all the time unless you are in a place where you feel respected, valued, that you're part of something bigger than yourself. To me, the cultural piece is foundational, and everything else follows. So that's why it's so important to me. So we have used a particular metric to measure our culture, and it's kind of the standard in higher education. It's the Great Colleges to Work For survey. I've always grammatically, Adam, struggle with the Great Colleges to Work For, because I think it's just a weird way to end a sentence, or I just think it's weird. But that is the name of the survey, Great Colleges to Work For. So I want to tell you a little bit about that survey. You participated, so thank you. I will try to explain this, so if you can't see it. So we did this survey in 15, 16, and then we paused in 17, and we did it again in 18. It is kind of the gold standard for how your employees are feeling about the teaching environment and the relationships and trust and direction, and it's imperfect, like every single survey is. But we did it every year, like most colleges do, and our data showed some challenges because every college has them. This is in no way meant to make anybody who has come before us or is still sitting here today to feel bad. It's just a point in time. So what this shows us is that, and you don't have to worry about the numbers, this is all beautifully color-coded. So the way this works is that if of all the people responding, at least 75% say, yes, you are headed in the right direction in this category, you become bright blue. We like bright blue. If, you're doing okay, but it's 65 to 75% of the people responding said, yeah, we're doing well in that category, you are pale blue. We're okay with pale blue. If you're in the middle, where you're like less than 50%-ish, you become light blue. We get a little worried, fair to good. And if you fall down in these areas, this is far less than 50%, we become the dreaded salmon color. So, and really, for many years in my career, people hold it up and go, there's salmon here. I don't know why we call that salmon. So CLC is a very wonderful, but in this way, typical college, in that we have challenges. So the data that you see here shows us across the board, shows us 4 things. This side is all the 2-year colleges that are comprehensive institutions that participated in that year and how they fared. So generally speaking, they are in the blue range on average. And we know how averages work, right? They're just data, so they're blue. This column is what's called the honor roll. It is the top 4 community colleges and how they rank. They're all bright blue, surprising enough. I promise we will be on the honor roll one day. And then in 15, this is Central Lakes College in 2015 and Central Lakes College in 2016. All you need to know is that we were doing some things really, really well. And we had some problems, right? We have some gaps, and that is true for every college that I've ever seen these data for. So that's where we were. The last time we did this was spring of 16. We got the data that summer. And then we had some conversations with you about the culture we want to create. We decided to take a pause and not survey you again in 17 because moving culture takes time. I mean, it really takes time and we'll never be done. So we took a pause in 17, didn't do it then. We did it this last April. So you thankfully filled this out in the spring of 18 and we just got the data this summer. I'm going to show it to you. There are only 3 columns and I'll explain them to you. So on the far right. This is all comprehensive 2-year institutions. Again, they're in the blue range. In the middle, honor roll. Those top 4 institutions are always going to be bright blue. And this is Central Lakes College. We're blue! Yay, we're blue! That is good news. Now, does it mean we're perfect? No, it really does not mean we're perfect. But it means that you have done some tremendous work. This is work that happens in the hallways. Every person does it. This is knowing people's names. This is doing better at communicating. This is calling me out when something goes wrong. It is everything that we're trying to do here, and we are moving the needle. And I am just so pleased about this, I cannot tell you. And I'm grateful that you've all participated, so thank you. I'll tell you that there's a lot of data behind this that if you want it, you can have it, but I am going to give it to the community building team, who I'm very deliberate trying not to make eye contact with right now. So they're going to look at these data, and we're going to ask them to look at the places that we have some work to do, and let's talk about some very strategic things we can do to keep moving that needle. And it will never be done. As soon as you stop paying attention to culture, it just slides back. So I'm really happy about this, and I want to thank you for your work. So culture, doing some good things there. The next piece, when we take a snapshot of where we are, is of course around enrollment management. And again, this is the broadest sense. This is recruitment, this is paying attention to student success, retention, completion, with the understanding that we are never, ever, ever going to decrease academic rigor. I will never miss an opportunity to tell you that. We're not going to make things easier for students. That's not what we will ever do. Our job is to find out what tools they need to be successful. It's their job to be successful. So I think we've had a lot of conversations about student success, and I appreciate everybody owning that this is critically important to us. We see moving the needle when we look at retention numbers and completion numbers, which take years to move. But one of the early indicators are how we're doing in enrollment, because if we're doing well in enrollment, we're recruiting, and we're keeping students. That's our ultimate goal. So snapshot of enrollment, this is where we are as of Monday. So I won't go through all this, but this is enrollment from fall of 10, which is this pukey green line all the way to the very nice dotted red line, which is fall of 18. You can see that we used to have a whole lot more enrollment, right? And we, over the years, have come back down to this level, which is fully what we expect. But our goal at this point is to compare where we are today to where we were at this time last year. So 1 week before classes started, which is last Monday, we really would like to be ahead of where we were last year. These numbers changed quite dramatically, but I can show, if those of you are close, you can see that our dotted red line is above the green and pink, and the green and pink are fall of 16 and fall of 17. That tells us that we are in the right direction. We're about 2% up as of last Monday, where we were at this time last year. It is extremely good news. We are cautiously optimistic. And the reason I'm being very cautiously optimistic is that you might remember, because I know you memorize everything that we talk about, this time last year I said the same stinking thing, didn't I? I said, we're up. I think I shot a gun off. Not a real gun, Joy, wherever you are. But, you know, it was great. We hadn't seen that in years. And then a couple weeks later, we fell just a bit. Now, we're in a good position, we were, because we didn't fall as much as we had in previous years, but it dipped below. So this year, we said, what's this trend looking like? What's really happening with our enrollment? And we took a deep dive, thank you to Wendy and Kari and Joy and Sharon and all the deans, to really look at what's happening. What I can tell you is that it's not the same as last year. Last year, where we lost enrollment was college and the schools, which is largely outside our control, but we're working on that. And we lost a lot of enrollment in career and technical education, and we talked about that. And it was alarming to us because we need those programs to be full, and our community needs them to be full. So that was a problem for us. And we responded to that by our student services team and all of you working really hard to recruit students in career and technical ed, but really across the board in our liberal arts programs. And one of the initiatives that we put in place is we brought in another recruiter. Ryan is here. There he is. So Ryan works with Tambra and a fabulous student services team. They all work together. And Ryan was tasked with recruiting for everyone, you know, obviously, but focusing on what we thought was a tremendous gap, career and technical ed. And he's worked really hard. We put Ryan's position in as temporary. We gave him a very, very tight timeline. And he just kept smiling, which is pretty unbelievable. You know, I was like, So he came in what month, Ryan? March, and we said, you have till September. That's next month, folks. To make some differences. And we gave him some numbers and said, we need you to move these needles or we can't keep investing these dollars. So I'm really happy to tell you that although we're only cautiously optimistic, I am no longer worried about career and technical education. We are way up in CTE. We are way up in the Staples campus. And I know Ryan would be the first to say that's not just Ryan. It's Ryan and Tambra, all of you, the student services team. But that is huge. And Ryan's position is now permanent. That's right. It's a good thing. Because we would be crazy if we said, well, we don't have the money to pay for him. So that's really great news. It's phenomenal. Now, what happens if we dip? And it could happen because we're not talking about a lot of students here. You know, there's this weird column. I have to peek around here. There are all these people over here. You know that we're targeting a 1% increase this year, right? And what does that even mean? Well, it's important, I think, that it's not just about numbers. It's about students. So we're about, just forgive me, Kari, with doing very rough numbers. Kari's like, where is she going with this? So we're about, and she's going to jump up if I'm wrong, like, whoa, 2,600 FYEs is about where we are as a college. So 2,600 full-year equivalent students, right? That's about where we are. And about 600 of those we'll take right off the top because they're important, but they're CIS, and we don't have a lot of control. So when we look at the students studying on our campuses or online, there are about 2,000 of them, okay? Full-year equivalent students. A 1% increase, and I'm bad at math, is 20 students. It's a tiny number, but it's still a hard number to move. So what we have to do is get and keep 20 more students. And what that tells me is every day, every interaction that you have with students, every time you keep a student in a class or encourage them to register for something else or get them enrolled or say, you know, this is the place for you, you are helping us to get to that 1%. And that 1% on our budget equates to about $120,000. Do I care about the money? Yeah, I do. Not because it's going into my pocket, but because when you come to us with great ideas, we can say yes. That's why we care about the money. So I ask you, never think what you're doing doesn't matter. 20 students, that's it. And I have no doubt we can do it. If we dip, we dip. We'll look at the data. We'll figure out, well, we've closed the CTE. We've done some progress in CTE. Where is the other gap? I can tell you right now that we're currently a bit down in the liberal arts area, but we've looked at where we're down, and we think it's largely due to programmatic and curriculum shifts that have been quite deliberate. I don't believe that this is a precipitous decline. I think we're fine, but we'll keep pulling those data. So I know you'll do your part. This is a celebration, but I also know that we just can't look at the world with rose-colored glasses. I'm not about to tell you that we're up. I'm telling you that the signs are really, really positive. So thank you for all your work. It's really, really good news. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about where we are with strategic planning. And everyone, I just saw everybody go, oh, God. Because you end up with this weird fatigue around it, don't you? You can be honest. Where's Gay? Gay will be honest. You do end up with some fatigue, don't you? Like, oh, my Lord. Oh, did you hear that? I have an appointment at 2. Oh, gosh. So there is fatigue around it. And there's fatigue around it because it takes a lot of time, and then it's often not very meaningful. So what I want to talk about is what I think, at least in my very small mind, is meaningful. So the committee, who I will thank one last time, led by Joy and Kari, did a fabulous job really reaching out to all of you repeatedly, many times, to make sure that what I'm showing you and what you've already seen, there's nothing new here, really does reflect anyone who wanted to weigh in had many opportunities to do so. So you know that we have a mission. We build futures. That was tweaked. Just the bullets under it were tweaked to be far more, I think, clear and make it very clear that our mission, to do it, we have to do 3 things. We have to provide career and technical education, liberal arts, and customized training. That's who we are. We have to create opportunities for cultural enrichment, civic engagement, and community engagement. Have to do it. It's important to us. Many colleges cut those things. We want it to be in our mission. And then finally, we have to take seriously that we have to create a supportive environment where a diverse student body can be successful. That's what we do. If we do all of those things, we're in good shape. It's our new mission. And I ask you to take a look at it. All of you have been given the red card. Do you see the red card? There is no money on the red card. A lot of people said, what's this baby worth? Let me tell you. What can I buy with it? It's only worth your heart and the love that you feel for the work that you do. That's what it's worth. So this card is Ken's doing, so thank you, Ken, or Ken's fault. But it's really Sue Bremer's fault. Where's Sue? She was here. Oh, there she is. It was Sue Bremer's fault. In a good way. Because we were talking about how these things can become totally meaningless. And how do we have these things? Well, if you were to ask, how do I know what our new mission, vision, and values are? Well, I can go on the website, or I can find that document that was emailed to me. And Sue, I probably shouldn't have called you out, but I really mean it very positively. Said, maybe we could have a little card that we just stick in our, what's that thing called? The lanyard thing. Not, you know what I mean? Stick it in there. So it could always be there. And Ken called it a red card, which is a little Target-esque, but that's okay. And it is a nice plasticky thing that you can hang around to 5 years, because that's how our strategic plan is going to take us. So that is for you. And if you need another one, then you just let us know. No, there's no money on there, Scott. I saw him flip it over like, what's it worth? What's it worth? So that's the red card. So you can refer to it at any time you want. So we have a new mission. We have new values. This is another Ken nice graphic. I go to speak to a lot of civic organizations, and I wanted to be able to tell them who we are, what's important to us, and what we're doing. And that's really what our mission, vision, and values do. Who we are is the mission. What's important to us and what guides us are our values, and where we're going. That's our vision. So I told you about the mission. That's up on top. We came up with these 4 values that the Strategic Planning Committee did, and they really came from you. That conversation in 16 where you said this is the culture we want to create. We needed easy values, just a few of them. We had like a slew. Most colleges do. A lot of great words that everybody agrees on. We wanted just a few that tell us if we can really uphold these things, we will be creating the culture we want. So our 4 new values are excellence, meaning, do it. If you're going to do it right. Do it for the right reason. Do it the right way. We want to be at the highest level of our academic expectations and our student achievement. So excellence, easy one. Innovation, you'll hear a lot about. This is just the sentiment that we're not going to do things just for the sake of doing them. A lot of higher education institutions, we're not, we do it. Why do you do it that way? Well, we always just have. We're going to try not to do that. And if you have ideas, we want you to bring those forward. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? And then finally, we are inclusive. So we absolutely have to make sure that every person feels welcome, supported, and respected here. That's huge. And finally, community. We are part of something bigger than ourselves. Those are our values. And those values we'll be developing an employee recognition program around. So when you really just shine in one of those areas, you can be nominated, and I don't know what we'll do. We'll say, yay, Nick, or whatever it is, or I don't know what we'll do. But we're going to celebrate those things. And then finally, we asked that committee to come up with a vision. And a vision is hard because we don't think like this in our real lives. If a mission means this is what we do, a vision is this is where we are going in the future. Where do we want to be in 5 years, and what do we want people to say about us in 5 years? And what the committee came up with your help is this, that in 5 years, people should say, Central Lakes College inspires learning, advances innovation, and transforms lives. Now, I know that they're just kind of nice words, but when you think about them, if people know us to be the college that inspires students to get connected with content, and they know us to do very cool things and find resources to do them, and they know that we transform people's lives, we are well on a path to success. So that is our new vision. And I have a few slides, and I'm going to give you one example of each of those because Jody is tapping. She's tapping like this, very subtly. I'm calling her out because she's right. I'm talking too long. So when I go to when I go to civic organizations, I tell them about these things. And the way we know that inspiring learning is powerful is because you already do it. Even though we've never said, this is what we're prioritizing, you do it anyway. And there are a million examples up here. Dave, you did that, and your colleagues, you did that very course, Dave Kabilka, you did that very cool thing over at Earth Day, and the students presented their research. I happen to like research. That was pretty awesome. We know that Jeff brings in poets and transforms students all the time. These are things that the welding students made the world's coolest fair sign that we have. Well, Becca is just getting her teeth done here, which I just think is a really good picture because it talks about our commitment and getting people involved in ways that they might not think. And of course, we have arts and theater. You do them anyway, and no one has asked you to. So now we're going to prioritize. We're going to talk about these things as being so important to us, they will help us to reach our vision. They inspire learning, and engaging students is everything that we do. We're going to advance innovation. There are many examples. You can take them or leave them. New equipment, new ways of having students work together, valuing research. Keith at the Ag and Energy Center. Keith is around here. There he is somewhere. Things that you wouldn't really expect us to be doing at a community college. And when I speak to community groups, that's my goal, to say, you don't have any idea what happens here. Let me tell you about it. So we will be advancing innovation and finding resources to help do that. Will it be easy? No, but we will be doing that. And when we have our new strategic plan, it's not about just what we're going to be doing, but where we prioritize our funds going. So we're going to really move these needles forward. And then finally, transforming lives is everything that we do. We will have metrics around every one of these, and the metrics around this one will be things like retention, completion, students getting employed in field, the things that we already track. But we need to recognize that the reason that we are so special is because our students get engaged, and that engagement helps them be successful, it keeps them here, and then they complete and become employed in field. That's what's special about this college. And that's what we have to put on paper in our strategic plan so that we don't lose those things. Right, Patrick? Is Patrick here? Patrick's here. So, for example, some of the information I'm sure that Patrick provided, he's looking around, was, we should have the arts here. We should say it. Of course we should say it, because if we don't say it, it's at risk. And we don't want these cool things to be at risk. So that's our new vision statement. that CLC inspires learning, advances innovation, and transforms lives. And I'm showing everybody these cool pillars, and I'm very excited about it. We're doing a new video series once a month, pushing out something to the community. Mark is working on this for us, and we'll be talking about what we're doing as a college. The idea, again, to have people see us in a new and different way. We just shot one, I don't know, Mark, the other day, right? I don't know, yesterday. I had to read from a teleprompter. It was the creepiest thing ever. It was. Because I couldn't just ad lib. It was just a little scary for me, but I trusted Mark, and it went fine. Yeah, the teleprompter has a top speed, and he's like, you need to slow down. So I don't know what it's like, but so you'll hear us talk about these pillars and why we are focusing on these things. And we're going to be pushing one of them out a month. Now, if you're wondering how we're going to do all of these cool things, if I'm saying we're putting resources behind them, how would that happen? Well, our new strategic plan will be tied to our budget process. So you're going to see the strategic plan and say, is this supporting is this thing I'm asking for supporting the strategic plan? It will be, because it's all the cool things that we do anyway. And we get money from tuition, and we get money from fees, and we get money from the state. But we have a very generous community. And you know that at the end of next week, right, Jana, there's a big event called the Night Out. If you did not go to the event last year, I'm telling you, you are missing out. This was a really fun event, all about the college, all about students. I spent way too much money on the silent auction. I had to cook Greek food for people. Patrick was one of them. I auctioned off a Greek dinner. It's all about students. And this year, Jana is working on raising an innovation fund, a pot of money that our faculty in particular, but perhaps it will be all, can apply for when you have a great idea that supports the things that we're talking about, and that you can take that little pot of money and do something fabulous with it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least we're providing some resources. So come to the event. Jana will tell you that we're up against Labor Day this year, so we're a little down in tickets. We're going to have a great event. We have over 150 people are coming. We have a lot of people coming, but we're just slightly down. We would love to have you all there. It could just be a CLC party. So Jana's going to send out the link. Half price for all CLC employees. Please consider coming. It's low pressure. I don't talk near this much. 5 minutes. Right, Jana? 5 minutes. There'll be a hook. There's almost no program. It's just eating, drinking, socializing, celebrating what we do. I mean, it really doesn't go wrong. And you're home by like 8:15, which is very important in my world. 8:15. Okay. All right, last few key initiatives that we're working on this year, and I'm going to blow right through them. We're going to keep focusing on enrollment management, obviously. That's our job. And it's to get the students here and keep them here to do the right thing. Not about the numbers, it's about the faces. So we're going to keep that focus. We're going to really deliberately talk about student engagement even more and realize that that is the power of what we do here. Joy and I were talking, a month ago, right? And saying, what is it about CLC? What makes us so unique? Because we're a comprehensive community college. There are 1,100 in this country. But we're really different. What makes us so unique? And we decided it's all the stuff. The highly technical term. It's all the stuff. The stuff that most colleges don't do. The cool things that you do in arts and in theater and athletics and in research and in community service. And it is amazing to us that there's so much stuff. And we have never said, we do stuff here. So we're going to try to come up with a much cooler word than stuff, but we're going to assess how many students are participating and promote that, because that's what makes us special, but it also what keeps students here enrolled and completing. We are going to keep working on our new program development, which is an exciting multi-year process that you've all been part of. I think one of the most important things we're going to do is to spend some real time on mental health. You all know that this entire community has been talking and struggling with what's happening in our community in terms of mental health. And we've had a very poignant reminder recently when Tara lost her son. And mental health is something that affects every one of us, though. You know, Crowing Energized did a study that said 1 in 4 adults suffers with depression and anxiety, which means that's 1 in 4 of us, you know. We are struggling as a community, and just in the last few weeks, many of our colleagues have lost family members or they struggle with things in their lives. Mental health is something that we have to pay attention to if we really care about people. So I ask that we really help take care of one another. We really think about what not just our students are going through, and we have to pay attention to that or they can't be successful, but what our colleagues are going through. So we've adopted the campaign called Make It Okay, which means it's make it okay to not be okay. We want this to be the place that you can say, you know, things suck. I'm really struggling right now, and you know, I could use a little support. And for that to be absolutely okay, where nobody says, what's going on? It's gonna take time to reduce that stigma, but we need to do this as a community. And the campaign that's Make It Okay is the campaign that the whole Brainerd Lakes community is embracing. So it's probably the most important thing we'll do, and you'll hear about it today, and there are table tents there. Also related to a cool project, we're gonna be working on the growth mindset. I think you'll be hearing from Jane. Jane? You will be hearing from Jane. She's here too. About this idea of, there she is back there, she's waving, the growth mindset. And quite simply, in my mind, it is that many of our students, have you ever talked to a student who says, yeah, I'm not good at math? Ever heard that? Yeah. Or college, it's not for me. Have you ever heard that? Or I failed that test, see, I told you. This concept that academic ability, that your life path, that intellectual ability is fixed really holds back students. The growth mindset helps to teach students and people that these are all malleable, and you can learn how to study, and you can become better at things, and that this is not futile. And there is huge evidence that with early intervention, like just exposure to the concept, students shine. They stick around. They are retained at much higher levels. So Jane's going to talk to us about it, and I think that's pretty cool. We're going to keep working on our goal to redesign the Brainerd Student Services, this whole space, and some academic support spaces. You know that last time we did not get our design funds. We are continuing on that project, and in 2020 we will put in for both design and construction because we want this space to be just as student-friendly and non-intimidating as the Staples space. And we are going to get there. It's just going to be a little bit of a tough climb, but we're going to keep working on that. And then finally, last but not least, we're going to keep working with our legislator to advocate. We're about to go into legislative session, as you know, and there are all sorts of interesting topics swirling around. We will keep pushing information out. One of those topics is about career and technical education and where it belongs. And that makes us all like a little nudgy. So one of the things happening this week is that the chancellor will be here. We're having some workforce conversations with K-12 in the room to say, CTE is all of our jobs. It has to be in the high schools, and we have to build pipelines to us. We want to make darn sure that there's no one in the legislature or anywhere else who doesn't understand that this is core to our mission, and our chancellor is very committed to that. So there'll be lots and lots of advocacy. All right, so this is my last slide. I told you that everything we do is about these connections, all that stuff that you put on, and we have some super creative people, and here's one example of that. We had somebody come up to us, I don't know, early summer and said, hey, people don't get CLC, right? I said, no, that's true. We're working on it. Well, we have this big event in this area, Lakes Jam. What if we did a video, like a really quick video, so that people could see, like, whoa, they do that there? And we said, well, they're going to be drinking a lot there, but we could still get them in 90 seconds, right? So they brought a group together, a very talented group, and I want to thank Eric in particular because he led the charge with Ken and the group Northwood Moments. Is that the group, Mark? Northland Moments. It's a group of our videography graduates that have a business, and they are just fabulous. And this played between sessions at Lakes Jam. No, I was not there, but I was told that this is what played. And it's about our values, and you can see the people and the connections. It's 90 seconds, and I swear I'm done. Nope, that's not it. I could dance, I could sing. It's all right, we tested it. We did test it. It'll work. And when I send you this, we'll send you the link as well. Darren's making funny faces. It's okay, Darren. Really, it's fine. All right, questions while we're waiting for the video. Any questions for me? Saved by the Bell. Oh, no. Sandra. You know, so Sandra says it's my 3rd year in Minnesota, and that I'm actually a mentor for another president, which is hysterical. I mean, really is. I have more questions, and how it's going. I appreciate the question. You know, we've lived in a lot of places, and we recently were back east dropping Lily off in Connecticut, and it's beautiful, and there are lots of pretty places in the world, but I think it's going great. I think that what's special about Minnesota, and we were talking about it earlier, is this sense of pride, and it's somebody who said it earlier said because we can live where it's minus 30. Yeah, that's true. But I've never lived in a place that people wear their state shirts all the time. I even have a Minnesota nice shirt. That's how it's going. I am claiming it. That's it, 2 years in. And it's just really the people. I see it here all the time. But they have really, the whole community has embraced our family, and we feel just great about being here. I was very happy to get home. And I recently went to a conference where there were presidents across the whole country, and I thought, man, I am really glad I'm in Minnesota. Doesn't mean we're perfect. We've got our plenty of problems, but I thought California, nope. Louisiana, nope. I mean, you know, they're over and over. And the grass isn't greener. Sometimes you think that, but thank you. We're very happy, and I appreciate everything that you've all done. Okay, it's up. 90 seconds. You can handle it. We don't have any sound. All right, that's right. I am sure somebody in the audience went, really? Here? And that's what we have to make sure of, the hidden gem. Thank you all very much. I'm sorry, Joy, for screwing up your agenda. I'm handing it over to you, or is it Sharon who's welcoming new employees? Sharon.
Not a problem. Well, hi, everybody. So this has been an interesting summer for human resources with many of the transitions. We've been having a great time, but some swearing has occurred. I just want you to be aware of that. But thankfully, one of the things that we have been able to do is hire some new employees. And so at this time, I would like every new employee since last January to just come up here, state your name, where you're working, and maybe what campus you're at. Come on up. I know you're here. I saw you, remember? I know you're here.
Ryan Wright, obviously recruiting, and I am at both the Brainerd and Staples campus.
Hello, I'm Natalia DePa. I am the new assessment specialist. So I'm replacing Lynn, and I am right in the student link.
Jim Coker, Staples campus, working with Keith, Farm Business Management, Malacca area.
Todd Palama, working over at the Staples campus with the Ag and Energy Center and the Mineral Analysis Program.
Steve Notch, also working over at Staples, Farm Business Management, located out of Little Falls, but covering Little Falls, Foley area.
Hi, Adam Schma, teaching here at the Brainerd campus, teaching some math and some CCST.
Jonathan LaFlamme, teaching instrumental music right here.
Brandon Schneider, heavy equipment maintenance.
Teresa Schmitz, HR, and yes, there's been a little bit. Tracy Cheetah, psychology, here in Brainerd.
And can we give them all a warm welcome and round of applause? Thank you.
Well, hello, welcome back, everyone. As Harris spoke about, mental health is a huge initiative that we're going to be working on this year, and so is also the growth mindset, which for the last 2 years that you've been talking about and really wanted us to move forward on. And we learned about that during the assessment days. So to talk about the mental health initiative, Susie Karznia is going to come up here and talk about that. And then to talk about the growth mindset, Jane Peterson will be discussing that. She's hiding.
Good afternoon. Happy to be back. Welcome to all of you. I'm really excited, and then I left my sheet with my notes over there. But so I want to say a couple things. The mental health initiative, I'm so excited that we're putting some resources towards it, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. There's 3 main pillars of what we're going to be kind of focusing on. So kind of 3 areas, going by memory here. And I want to tell you that none of it's like all detailed out yet. We're going to really be working on it heavy this year. So one of the parts we're going to do is a speakers bureau. So kind of to go along with, I would encourage you to do that makeitokay.org campaign with the table tents on there. There's a website, if you just put in makeitokay.org, there's a lot of great information on there. But it's people telling their stories, because it's just, they're people like you and me that maybe are, have gone through some mental health or know someone with mental health problems. So, we want to make it okay to talk about and reduce that stigma. So if any of you don't have to tell me now, but hopefully we're going to be organizing a bureau, speakers bureau throughout the year, where you can tell your story and share it with others, so others will also be like, oh, okay, I'm not alone, or oh, I didn't know that, and look at, and they're doing okay, So speakers bureau, anyone that, again, you don't need to tell me now, but watch for me to check in with you later on that. So speakers bureau, and then the second thing is the campaign, makeitokay.org, and community-wide, like Hera mentioned, she already said everything about that, but so it was interesting. Yesterday I dropped a son off at college at UMD, but I'm in the bathroom. They have the Make It Okay in there too. So we're doing it. We're doing the right thing. We're going in the right direction. It's, hopefully you will start seeing it more and more across the state. But it's a really great initiative. I actually did there's a presentation. I did it in March, and I had a group of like 5 or 6 people that came. It's just, it's one of the things they talk about is like the stigma attached to mental health when you have some mental health issues going on. What are some of the terms that you think of, and who do you think of? And really that's not who it is oftentimes. So again, go ahead and go online and check that out and watch for that. There's going to be, we're going to do table tents and stuff. Third part to that is based, I think, the grant that we got called Peers Reaching Out. And we're going to get some peers, get some students involved here, looking at maybe honors leadership and some other organizations that will help the student side. So especially for our students, Make It Okay is going to be for everyone, not just the students, for all of us. But for the students to do some resources and table tents, and maybe even train them to do some presentations, so that, because often peers to peers, right? That's who other students maybe will be more comfortable sharing their story with or coming up and talking to. So there's going to be, so we did get some grant dollars to hire some peers or some students. So if you have people in mind, some students that you think would be good at that, again, we don't know exactly what it looks like. We're going to do some training of them for them, and then working with Psych Club, we've got someone, we're actually going to hire, Mary reminded me of this, a grad student, and they're going to do some, whatever that looks like, to hire and do some training too for the students. So the Speakers Bureau, I forgot to mention, Joy
or no, the peers reaching out, Joy's going to help with that as well. I'm excited about that. So those are the three main areas. So the makeitokay.org campaign, so hopefully that's going to be all over around us. And then the Speakers Bureau, and then the peers reaching out, so the peers piece of it, student piece. And Joy, anything else that I should? Oh, yeah. So flyers and pamphlets over there for makeitokay.org if you want them for your classrooms. But again, you can also go, great resources, like your little table tents on there now. It gives, there's even a little quiz, like, you know, someone says, gosh, I'm really feeling down and lonely right now, and, you know, what to say. And there's the do's and don'ts on that side. But there's actually a little quiz online you can take too for fun. Oh, absolutely. Yep, good point. She's just saying, Mary Beth was just saying, make sure that we cover the gamut of who. Absolutely, you know, when we talked about who might be good for that, you know, initially it was like, oh, psych students. I'm like, well, it actually could be anyone. I mean, you don't have to be in that field to be passionate about it, as far as helping and getting others to reach out and get the help that they need. So thank you for that reminder. Is that good? Okay. Thanks for that. Good to see everyone. So Jane, is Jane next? Oh, see, you left me alone up there. Yes, I did.
Can you help me pass these out?
Oh, absolutely.
They can pass them out. Can you just, there's not one for everybody, but. So I'm Jane Peterson, and I coach physical education, and I am the volleyball coach. And I'm really honored to be able, it's taken me 28 years to have the opportunity to speak to the faculty of Central Lakes College, and I'm really honored to have the opportunity to do that. I am not an expert on growth mindset, I'm just a PE teacher. But a growth mindset is something that I've studied in a lot of different ways. And I came to it because, I was in my studies of yoga, I became way more aware of my mind-body connection, and this idea of a mind that's separate from a brain and how it works became interesting to me. And that led me to read books like The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle, and he, in his book, describes how people become masters of their craft. It led me to learn about a neuroscientist from BYU, Carl McGowan, and I learned about him because he was one of the first neuroscientists to apply his knowledge to the art of coaching volleyball, which is one of my passions. And those readings led me to a guy named John Kessel, who is a world-renowned coach of coaches. He works for USA Volleyball and teaches. He doesn't just coach volleyball coaches. He goes around the world teaching coaches how to be better coaches. And all those readings led me to this book called Mindset by Carol Dweck, which was published in 2006, which is a long time ago. It's like 12 years ago. So I'm not sure why it just recently is becoming a thing, because like I read this and said, this should be a thing. Why isn't this a thing yet? And since 2006, she's been doing a lot of research. She's a PhD at Stanford, and she's been doing a lot of research. She and her people, I don't know how PhD people work. They got all their graduate assistants doing all this funky research. Around the world, they are doing research. They've done research with 5th graders. They've done research with all 10th graders in Chile. So they are doing real scientific research about growth mindset and how it can help people be better learners. So I just, this is something, it just made sense to me. It's something I just got really excited about. I wanted to try to have it, a growth mindset. I wanted to try to teach it to people because it just struck me as the right thing to do. So I had this PowerPoint yesterday. I had this PowerPoint already. And last night I just scrapped it because I'm a PE teacher. And I don't I can use PowerPoint, but I don't very often. So I just wanted to go with the basic what, why, and how. What is growth mindset? Why have it or teach it? And how to do that. This is, a lifelong study that I'm going to talk to you in like 10 minutes or less, okay? So what is a growth mindset? These are some of the things that I think a growth mindset is, and I'm not an expert. These are just things I've read or make sense to me. Growth mindset is a belief that everybody in the whole world has the ability to learn and grow and improve. Not at the same rate and not at the same capacity. We all can't be masters of a craft, but we can all learn and grow and improve. Human beings are born to learn. Think about how a baby progresses in 1 year of life. Intelligence is not a fixed thing. A fixed mindset is the opposite of a growth mindset. It's a belief that your qualities, your personality, your intelligence, your moral character are something you're born with. You have it or you don't. It's carved in stone. If you have a fixed mindset, it creates an urgency to prove yourself over and over again. This is what I have. I got to make sure everyone knows that I'm at this place. I got this stuff. Having a growth mindset makes people focus more on potential rather than talent. Having a growth mindset makes you think of intelligence like a muscle that you can teach and grow, instead of thinking like intelligence like as an eye color that you're just born with. Having a growth mindset means that you really value learning and effort rather than like looking good or appearing smart. The growth mindset means you really value the process, and a fixed mindset means that you are focused on only the outcome. How does it look to people? A growth mindset, people with a growth mindset, when they're faced with a challenge, say, okay, I can learn to do this. They have more grit. They're willing to go for it. They see it as an opportunity to learn. People with a fixed mindset see a challenge or a setback as something that's too hard. It's too much. I'll just give up. I'm not smart enough. Why try? I'm not good at math. I'm not creative. I can't write a story. I'm no suck at art. They don't believe that they have the ability to learn. So this is my, PE teacher understanding of a growth mindset. So why have a growth mindset and why try to teach it? I came up with maybe 5 or 6 reasons. So that we can produce lifelong learners. That's something we want to do. So that we will have students who persist and have grit and determination, not so they can be as good as someone else or get a good grade, but just so that they can put the effort into trying to be the best person they can be. Why do you want to study and teach growth mindset? Because we're constantly growing and changing, right? You never arrive. We can't know enough stuff. We should be constantly trying to be better at what we do. Why study and teach a growth mindset? Because having a growth mindset can help reduce anxiety and depression. We're not perfect. We need to know how to deal with failure. A big part of a growth mindset is understanding that mistakes and failures are part of the learning process. And if you really believe that, then making a mistake and doing it wrong is okay. It's something you can get over. When your brain, and so some of the neuroscience, I'm not a scientist, but some of the people studying growth mindset have made great little short videos about neuroscience to make it really understandable. When you make a mistake in your brain, you literally grow your brain, right? You make new neural pathway connections. And when you don't do it right, your brain analyzes that, I'm not saying this scientifically, I understand. But when you make a mistake, right, this new neural pathway that's trying to get built, something new happens. If you do something right, correctly, that you already can do, you're not growing your brain. You're just doing what you can already do, right? So making mistakes is this huge part of growing your brain, of being able to learn, of understanding that learning takes effort up here. And it didn't take very long to convince me, and I'm not a scientist, it doesn't take very long to just talk to students about that, about this is your brain can learn and grow, these neurons connect. The more connections you attempt to make, the more you will make. Your brain will help you figure out which connections are the exact right ones. The ones you practice over and over again will become faster and easier. They get wrapped in myelin, and when you're good at something, you have this great neural connection in there that's all figured out, and then it gets easier. Can you become the best in the world? Maybe not. But can you make it easier for yourself? Certainly. Your brain has that ability. No matter who you are, that is true. So why study and teach a growth mindset? Because if you're truly a teacher with a growth mindset, you believe in every student. You will stop labeling people, and you won't give up on students who appear to not care. You'll embrace the challenge of reaching the toughest students because you will know that you have the ability to learn and grow and change how you teach. Why study and teach a growth mindset? For me, having a growth mindset has really made me more passionate about teaching. It's helped to hold me accountable to not giving up on students. If I have actually said to someone, right to them, I believe that you have the ability, then I better do it. Because if I didn't, that might be devastating. The other reason why study and teach a growth mindset is because our president just stood up here and showed you pillars about inspiring learning. That's what a growth mindset does. And about transforming lives, and that's what a growth mindset does. So how can you do it? You're a teacher, and how can you, like, if people, you're nodding your head, so how can I do it? How can I teach people? So the first would be to learn about it, and then just study it a little bit. There's some great little YouTube videos. If you just YouTube growth mindset, or neuroscience and growth mindset, or Carol Dweck, the writer of the book, or trainugly.com, which is a guy, Trevor Reagan, he's really applying growth mindset, mostly to athletics, but he has a really great video about what growth mindset is. There's all kinds of, if you're not going to read a whole book, you have 15 minutes, go to YouTube and search. So you want to learn about it, right? And for me, when I started learning about it, I just kept going. You also want to catch yourself having a fixed mindset. And I'm giving you examples of what's happened to me recently, even. Have you ever caught yourself predicting which students will do well in your class based on the first test grade? Have you ever labeled a student as someone who doesn't care or who isn't really that smart? Have you ever said to yourself, I'm just a teacher, I really don't have any influence on a student's intellectual ability? If you have, then that's a fixed mindset. Everyone has some of each. Everyone has moments of fixed mindsets, even if they don't want to. So if you can catch yourself saying, that's not really going to help them, if I'm ahead of time saying, well, they're not that smart, how can I help that person learn something? You can have high standards in your classroom. If the high standards come with a nurturing atmosphere, then they'll be good. People can buy into it when they know that you care about them. When students feel cared about as people, and when they feel like valued members of an academic community, they'll give more. And they won't have so much fear about making a mistake if they have some relationship with you. This takes time and effort and some of your heart and your guts. But even if you just do it with some of your students, it will be worth it. How else can you teach a growth mindset? You can believe the students who you can believe that students who don't know their stuff haven't learned it yet. This word yet, it just hasn't happened yet. Don't give up on them. If they don't care, don't give up on them, right? Maybe you can't control, and maybe they can't control some of their lives, but maybe it's just not yet. When students come to register for college, I'm sure they don't anticipate themselves flunking yoga. But every semester, multiple students do. It's not that hard. You show up, you do a little yoga with me, you write one thing in the middle of the semester. It's not that complicated. You write one thing about how it's going, what'd you learn? You get an A. It's really easy. Students don't come because they want to do bad. If someone has the guts to sign up for a class and come in here to Central Lakes College and say, I want to be a student, they probably want to. They're probably not faking the desire to be a student. They might have different reasons for doing it, but so you should believe in them, especially at the beginning. Maybe after they've missed, 8 classes in a row, it's going to be hard to believe in them, but at the beginning, you need to believe that they're here for a reason, even if they're not the smartest, and even if they don't come prepared, and even if they walk in late. They probably care in some way about being a student here. Maybe they just haven't learned how yet. Maybe no one taught them how to be a good student. So how else can you teach a growth mindset? You praise the process and the effort and not the outcome. This also takes more time. If you're grading a paper, you have to praise the process and the effort and not just put a grade on it. You focus your attention on encouraging students to focus on their learning and not their grade. One way to teach a growth mindset is to forge a contract with your students. Tell them they'll be successful, they'll improve, and they will learn. Don't promise them a certain grade. If they come with you in this course, you will learn something. You will succeed. Tell them that it won't be easy. Learning is hard sometimes. Success will not just come to you. Success is something that you must come to. Catch your students making mistakes and remind them over and over again that mistakes are growing their brain. There's a whole lot. When they said, okay, 15 minutes, I was like, that's ridiculous. People are studying this for the last 12 years, and there's books, and there's all kinds of research, and you should know about all these little studies they've done. They'd make total sense. But this is what I came up with to tell you in a week that I found out I was doing this. So, which I was really happy, I really sincerely honored and happy to do, because it's something it's fun for me to talk about growth mindset. I'm using it in the gym. If you want to come see it happen, you'd have to stay a while but I used it this morning. I used it yesterday with this group of people. We try a new drill, we fail at it, and I stop and say, we just failed 4 times. What are we going to do about that? Are we going to say we're failures? Are we going to say we know good? Are we going to say we suck at it? Or are we going to try a 5th time and really believe that we could be better? And sometimes I'll just give someone something new and say, can you do this? And they fail at it. And I say, do you believe that you could get better if you tried it again? And 100% of the time, they say yes with really believing it. If you let someone try again, and you ask them, if they give you the answer, yes, I believe, then that's the kind of student you want, right? So I don't know if you have any questions for me. I'd be happy to talk about it now or later, or I have a couple links to Carol Dweck's TED Talk, if you can't find that on YouTube, but it's there, which is 15 minutes. It's the whole picture in big sense. TrainUgly.com is a great website. And the Carol Dweck disciples, the other Stanford graduate or PhD or doctoral students, are coming up with ways to teach people to teach growth mindset in a higher education setting. And so this is a new thing. It's called PERT, P-E-R-T. There's a free mindset kit. If you go, I don't know. I have it's mindsetkit.org, which has really short lessons, little video clips, which can explain neuroscience in 2 minutes, and just a few questions that you could ask your students just to if you wanted to introduce growth mindset to them in just a few minutes. That would be one way to do it. It's free. You could do it right now. I just watched it in the past week and it makes total sense. So, okay, do you have any questions? Thanks.
Like last summer and this summer when you put those words?
Yeah.
Is that what that was all about?
Yeah, some of it. So when I have volleyball camp, there's like a word or a theme of the day, and so growth mindset was last summer was the theme for volleyball camp, and so we talked about what young people can say when things go wrong, right? And so I had a couple handouts there about how you can reframe your thinking. That's what a mindset is, right? How you can reframe your thinking when things go wrong, what you can say to yourself. That's another thing we practice in the gym all the time. When something goes wrong, I'm trying to teach them to say, I will do this next, instead of, I did not do this. We all saw you fail. The ball didn't go where you want it to go. I know you're not trying to do it wrong. So what will you do next to make it better? To show you're learning something, to show that you are trying to improve. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm really happy to talk more about it if you want. Oh, and there's going to be a little after the break. Red name tags are there, white name tags are there, blue name tags are there. You have a short break, 5 minutes, according to them.
So what I'm asking each of the groups to do, I believe one of you will have pillar 1, one group has pillar 2, and one group has pillar 3. Amongst your group, we want you to come up with some action items for the next 20 minutes, and then we're going to have you report out. So I'm going to give you an example. One of the strategies was to promote excellence in teaching and learning. So maybe your group thinks, well, let's focus on some of the topics Jane just talked about with the growth mindset. So some of the goals or action items that you're thinking about really is within a 5-year plan where we can make small steps each year, and by the end of 5 years, we hope to have accomplished that. So I'll give you another example. One is advanced innovation, and that would be to celebrate and encourage innovation inside and outside the classroom to promote student success. So when you think about different actions in your classroom, you could say, well, maybe if we raise enough money at the night out and we have some innovation awards for different people on campus, what could I do in my classroom to help students succeed? Is there a different curriculum? Is there, a different something different in your classroom that's going to help you teach and help students be successful? So really, what we're asking to do is under each pillar for your team to come up with some action items or goals, and then share with your group and pick out your best, because you'll be reporting out in 20 minutes. So I know I wanted to make sure that we pause and you can ask questions before we get started. Does everybody know what we're doing? Yes? No? Okay, we'll report out in 20 minutes. So we are going to start with the red group. And I'm going to bring the mic over, and you can just pick your top ones for red, or if a couple people want to report out. And then Kari's going to come after the report and pick up any of the sheets that are filled out. Is there someone who wants to report out? Oh, start over here? Way over? Don't all jump at once. Okay.
Okay, we did strategic direction number 2, advance innovation 2.1, ensure all programs align with new and changing workforce needs, or new workforce and transfer needs. We got 3 different things listed. In the technical side, we all have strong advisory boards. That's one of the things that help us stay aligned with workforce needs, new upcoming trends. One of the thoughts were to somehow cross-participate. For example, I know Heavy Equipment has a strong advisory board. We have a strong advisory board in robotics. There's no reason why we couldn't start sitting on each other's advisory boards. Internships or employment opportunities. You know, a lot of times our students will go out on an internship or they'll go out on an employment. We get that feedback directly from the student on how they're doing and how they're being assimilated into the company. And we also get that feedback from the employers themselves. The third thing, industry trade shows. We probably should promote those a little bit more. And again, some of this is kind of, you know, my standpoint is career and tech ed, but still, you know, if you're teaching in the liberal arts side, there's no reason why, in my mind, there are shows to go out and see as well. And field trips. We like to take our students out to industry trade shows, helps them to meet other people, see what goes on outside of the classroom. Does anybody here got 2.4? Okay, I'll give you my list too.
All right, so for continuing on with Strategic Direction 2, Advancing Innovation, we had 2.2, celebrate and encourage innovation inside and outside of the classroom to promote student success. Some of the ideas we came up with on how to do that was to find and use interactive apps to engage students in the classroom, such as like a Kahooted app that they can use on their device. They have their devices in their hands constantly anyways. Why not put them to a use in the classroom that is in a positive manner rather than a negative manner? Promoting student success, things such as if they're doing projects in our class or a program that is very innovative. Let's celebrate those by putting them in the roll call or the West Bank Journal, showcasing them and, you know, making a big deal about those things. The third one was to offer new ways to complete exams, assignments, etc. One idea that I shared with my group that I do traditional midterm essay exam in my marketing class. Nowadays, students look at you like paper and pencil. We have to write this out with a paper and pencil. I have a classroom set of tablets and having them type it up. Type it in Word, submit it to D2L in the Dropbox right there in the classroom where I can monitor and make sure that the integrity level is still there, but it fits their learning style. They can type it up and turn it in rather than handwrite it and have roadblocks with, oh, I'm horrible at spelling. It takes me so long to handwrite it because I don't know how to spell this or that. Where they can type it in Microsoft Word, spell check. They have confidence that they know the topic. They can put it into a good format using Microsoft Word. And then the last one we had was providing real-world jobs and projects, creating and connecting that classroom to things out in the world today, business, whether you partner up with a business. I know Pat Swarthout used to do that with his marketing class. They had to create a marketing plan for a particular business, present it to a board of directors, finding ways to create those real-world projects and stuff. So that's how we had to encourage and celebrate those innovations. Tracy.
All right, same strategic direction, advance innovation. We had 2.3, employ reliable and emerging technologies to support innovations in teaching, learning, student success, and efficient business operations. And our first was reliable video conferencing for both meetings and classes to continue that, to make it more accessible for all. And then a CLC rideshare app, whether it's the Friendly Rider, but that's just Staples to Brainerd. We're talking about maybe an app that students could access that would bring them from their point to campus, wherever that happens to be. And then Tanya was also talking about the T-Mobile hotspot that students could purchase maybe at the bookstore for $400, because we do have rural areas where you just can't get the speed that you need in order to complete your work. And so just, I don't know, did I miss something? Okay.
All right, we had strategic direction number 2, again, advance innovation. 2.4, which was design campus facilities to enhance the student experience. We talked about a more visible student life center. When I went to school here years ago, it was in, I don't know what room it was, down by the Fireside Lounge, and it was all glass, that room that's got the glass wall, and you could just walk by and see what was going on in there. So maybe a little more inviting, a better experience. Outdoor sitting and eating, if it's a nice day, go outside. Mobile coffee shop, we had talked about, and I know we had one of those a few years ago down in the Fireside Lounge. So I don't know what happened to that, but maybe bring that back. Directional information, maybe up here, more inviting when people walk in. And then wall murals or big decals to put in the hallways of, it could be big picture Einstein sticking his tongue out, or it could be, who knows, anything. It could be a mural of, or not a mural, but a picture of, a Google photo looking down on our campus with the whole city of Brainerd all around it. I find myself standing in front of that world map quite often down at the other end of the building, just staring at it, and looking at it. So maybe have a few more of those things to be a little more inviting. And then Nate passed on a couple. You might have to clarify what these mean. Food service.
Yep, food service is very important on the Staples campus.
Okay, food service, Staples campus, continue. Dorms and student housing in Staples. And then daycare in Staples as well.
All right, so we again had Advance Innovation, 2.5, develop revenue resources around grants, customized training, and partnerships. Sorry, Nancy, am I yelling in your ear? And so I guess, we didn't come up with the magic bullet by any means, but I would say the theme across grants, customized training, and partnerships was communication and cross-team collaboration, I think. We can't expect customized training to just come up with everything that we need and just know what we need in industry, and to also tag on to classroom learning. Just like we can't expect Tara, one grant writer, to do all the grant writing and to know all the grants that should be written and all the amazing projects you need funded. And just like we can't necessarily expect our foundation to find all the partnerships in the community either. We're all one person, but together, if we cross collaborate and we sit down and somebody brings to us a grant or a partnership or a customized training idea, then let's work on it together. So again, I don't think we came up with the magic, but I think somebody over here talked about some cross programmatic advisory committees and that kind of thing. So I think that was wonderful. I sold Ryan a ticket to the night out while we were sitting here. I helped him process his transaction. So that's one way to raise revenue for the college. And then do you want to share your idea, or do you want me to? Okay, good, because I really didn't want to.
So
one idea that we talked about it as an English department in the past. We never agreed on it, but we'd suggested that if we were to compile example essays and agree to use those in our courses and sell them in the bookstore with the students' permission, it'd be a very small amount of revenue, but it'd be innovative, I think. That wasn't the one, I know. The other one was like a calendar for faculty of us, like on horseback or biting roses. But then Jana pointed out that nobody really buys calendars anymore. So then we thought maybe colanders would work if we could fabricate some strainers. That's it.
Okay, next group.
Okay, our group was looking at transforming lives, and we broke up into separate little groups. So transform lives and pursue intentional strategies that increase recruitment, persistence, completion, transfer, and placement. And one of the things that, especially with the liberal arts, we had a kind of a diverse group of farm business management and liberal arts and maintenance. In liberal arts, a lot of times a lot of the students really don't have any, they don't know why they're doing here. And so a lot of the focus is outlining their goals. What do they want in their goals? And as far as an actual suggestion, that would be to increase the counseling staff on campus.
Give it to the new guy. Great. So we had strategic direction 3, transforming lives as well. So 3.2, strengthen our culture of caring and inclusion throughout the college. So we had talked about was maybe creating a theme-oriented student success day, maybe around growth mindset that we just had heard about earlier. In that, including maybe a word of the day, grit. We talked about how grit can really, just the idea of what grit is and teaching what grit is to help students know that they can just persevere through anything when there's challenges as opposed to just quitting, allowing them to, feel like we care what they're doing. And then recognizing and honoring developmental ed students by celebrating their success. It was talked about that it seems like there was a lot of inclusion towards honor students. So somehow to create something to celebrate the developmental ed students, maybe finishing their 2 years through us, and maybe they were a first generation college student and they finished their degree, which is something really to celebrate. We talked about creating some kind of bold or edgy kind of campus message around inclusion, saying we as a staff aren't going to take bullying. We're not going to take, pushing other students around. So really trying to create an environment where students feel safe to approach us, create safe maybe hangout spaces around the campus, so students that maybe aren't in formal clubs would still have a place to go and feel like they belong without formally belonging to some kind of club or activity.
Oh, okay. So we did Transform Lives 3.4, promote and strengthen support structures for diverse student populations, utilizing an intentional and systemic approach. So we discussed restructuring student life. We thought it was focused a lot towards male-oriented activities. I've heard this through students through a research project as well. So maybe making it more gender-friendly to increase participation there. And then also with with age, actually, that was another piece we thought could be worked on. Sue had a student in particular that hesitated to use the food shelf because of her age and feeling like she shouldn't be in that spot to have to go still get food. So figuring out how we can maybe restructure some of those pieces. The next thing we thought of was a multicultural center. So developing a place on campus that is going to be a hangout spot and inclusion spots for students from diverse groups. The next one we had was identify cultural holidays, and kind of like how we do roll call. Every month we put out happenings, things that are going on around campus, is to be intentional about bringing awareness to other holidays from different backgrounds. So, for example, Diwali, Kwanzaa, and so having something like a roll call type of a thing, maybe in the bathrooms like that, that highlights different cultural holidays and things like that. And then the last thing was to have a diversity scavenger hunt that may be part of Awards Day in the spring. That's what we came up with.
Our group did Transform Lives 3.3, encourage a growth mindset, including physical and mental wellness for the college community. So after looking at this, I realized that we focused, our group focused more on the physical and mental wellness. Jane had talked a lot about some ideas for growth mindset. And I guess it kind of ties together anyway. But first, we acknowledged some of the good things that have happened. Maybe just to realize, well, how did that get started? Steve Sabin, a former student, many of you know, he started the arrows and the directions of, the walking track around campus. So that's a good health and wellness thing. A lot of people from the community come and do that even. Students do it. And then the Frisbee golf course that was put together by Student Life, that's an activity that a lot of people are using, even from the community are using. It gets them outdoors, even if they're not super athletic. So we started talking about, well, how can we add to that? Are we going to need to add some kind of health and wellness committee, so that could be an option, either a student-led committee or a faculty staff committee for, let's get faculty staff health and wellness going better, or a student-led committee too. But then we're adding another committee, which also adds to the load too. So it's kind of just an idea. And then Bob had mentioned the Crow Wing County Energized. None of us knew a ton about what they do. We know that they do some education in the community. I think it's related mostly to prediabetes and diabetes awareness, nutrition education, and health education. And they do mental health, Mary, too. Okay, so they do some mental health. So, like, if we could either at least maybe refer to Crow Wing Energized, refer students to Crow Wing Energized, or somehow come up with some kind of connection that, since they're already geared up for all of that, maybe we could connect and work with them somehow. And then the English department especially kind of talked a little bit about some of their ways to make personal relationships with students when they recognize, especially when they're looking at essays and things, when they recognize that students are struggling, and loneliness is a big thing that students struggle with nowadays, using their phone to kind of detach themselves from others as well a lot of times. Leanne had mentioned one thing as well that could be helpful or possibly easy to set up would be a meditation room. Some students may want to take advantage of that. Took us a long time, I know, to get the breast pumping room, and that was a little bit of an issue, and it kept getting moved around as well. And so that might be a similar situation, but just throwing that idea out there, a meditation room for students that might want to take time to learn mindfulness, use mindfulness, and maybe they might even use it more than we do. Maybe some staff we should use it more too. I think it would help. There's a lot of research out there about how it really helps you overall. Okay, trying to get through the rest of the ideas. Oh, and then one other little last idea that popped in my head as we were talking is for student mental health. We have a lot of student events because Jeff had talked about student loneliness, and so I was starting to think about, we do have a lot of student events, but the one thing that I've noticed a lot at student events is that we often hand out pizza and burgers and fries and chips, and many of you know I teach microbiology, and I have a little bit of a passion for gut health. Gut health is connected to mental health. The standard American diet is called SAD for a reason, and we are kind of promoting that as a college when we are always handing out pizza and chips and not fruits and veggies. And yes, I know it's more expensive, but that's also why a lot of our students don't have enough fruits and veggies in their diet, because it is more expensive and they can't afford that produce. So just something to think about. If there is a possibility, if there is enough money in the budget, to think about adding fruits and veggies as that possibility. And I think they still will want to come to the events. Doesn't have to be pizza to draw them in necessarily. So, and I think that's all our group had. So, who's the next group?
Okay, we have the last group. Okay. Do you want to start at this end? Who's speaking at this end? Okay.
How should we break it up? Should we just take two, or just you guys have something? If you have something to add, just go ahead and add it. So just feel free to add. I don't think I need a microphone. I'm Italian, so I don't know. I'm just loud as it is. So we had Inspire Learning, and for 1.1, it was promote excellence in teaching and learning. And we talked about Kahoot, which was mentioned prior. I know they were using that in the dental program. And they also talked about the honors program and various clubs and organizations that can help promote excellence in teaching and learning, as well as instructors attending workshops, achieving certificates, et cetera, et cetera. You guys have anything?
Do you want to add down here?
Just awareness of the multiple intelligences and the different learning styles, because what one person might recognize as being excellent might take a different format for a different student.
Did you want to add over here? No? Back here? Anything to add? No? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. You all did a great job. Oh, the first one. Okay, so who's doing the second? I was like, wow, light group. Okay.
Sorry, there's 4 more. 1.2 is ensure every student is connected to resources to help them succeed. We mentioned things like assignments linked to resources like tutor.com, making students complete an assignment so they're aware that this resource is available to them. Textbooks come with resources as well, such as quizzes that the students can access, lecture notes, etc., that are usually free. D2L Brightspace orientation, Trio, the food shelf.
You probably saw my email about Pulse, the new D2L app that has a lot of potential for getting resources to students right away. Even if you're teaching a face-to-face class, if you cancel your class and put that on the announcement page, your students will get a notification as soon as it's posted. So they're more aware of different things that are happening more quickly. When quizzes get announced, they can get a notification if you're using the calendar tool. So that's a really cool way to make sure that they have some other resources. There's intelligent agents that you can set up that will notify students if they are not doing something or if they are doing something. Can send them positive messages when they score a certain way on a quiz, or if you want them to score better. So there's just a lot of different tools that can be there or can be linked through whether you're teaching face-to-face or online. And this is the other group. Personally connect with students to the appropriate resources such as Trio Counseling Financial Aid. Yep. The third one, 1.3, expand learning beyond the classroom through co-curricular programming, such as student life, academic competitions, athletics, and the arts. So the first thing we kind of talked about was leading by example. Make sure that you participate in things that you can, and then talk about it in your classes, even if it's in the first few minutes of class or those minutes in between classes, so that students see that it's something that's important to you. And if you talk about other students that you saw there, then they know that other students from their class are going, and maybe they would go the next time. Some instructors assign extra credit or assign X number of volunteer hours and service learning. We thought that would be a good thing. And I'll hand that over to you.
We just mentioned programs that take place on campus. that could help with this, like Cultural Thursdays, Verse Like Water, Student Success Day, the Writing Awards, and Student Awards Day. 1.4 is strengthening developmental programming and services to improve student success. We talked about the on-campus tutoring that's available to students, as well as I know the dental program talked about they have in-program tutors, and they call it Mentoring Monday, and they help out. And then just providing tools for the students with organization, like a folder that has the days of the week in it, and when they have an assignment that's due a certain day, they put it in that slot so they can keep track of things, as well as entering it into their calendar or whatever app that they're using.
More ABE support in classrooms was mentioned, as well as something maybe administration could help us with. We thought that maybe there could be more communication and discussion between programs and departments if there are certain things that needed to kind of happen first. So like our group was talking about some nursing students who by the time they took Comp 2 were kind of missing how to write the papers and do correct citations. So if that's a scheduling thing, perhaps in a in-service day we could have designated time to do cross-discipline scheduling and talk about what kind of program needs do you have in law enforcement that we might need to know in the communication department, so we put more intercultural classes in the spring versus in the fall. So if that could be part of our in-service days, it might foster that communication.
And then 1.5 was foster strong relationships within our communities. We talked about service learning opportunities in classrooms, as well as Verse Like Water came up again. Volunteering that's been taking place, like the Habitat for Humanity, our students going out and helping out in the community. Things that take place on campus, like the Christmas party that we have, participation in like parades, just getting our name out there and getting our faces recognized, as well as the night out.
And we had things like service learning, volunteering, tutor programs in the local middle and high school, and I think things with the advisory boards and everybody else participating in their own community members, but then bringing that information back on campus and sharing it and talking about it, encouraging students to get involved. Like our law enforcement was talking about how we have crisis. They have so many hours that they need to volunteer, and I can't remember what the number was, like 4 hours that they did with the crisis line, and they're still doing it even now after they're done with the class. So some of these can develop relationships that last a long, long time and serve the community. That's it.
So now I can say thank you. I think everyone did a great job, and we have good ideas for the committee to continue to work on, to put together some action plans and divide them out into the next upcoming years. So we really appreciate your feedback. Now, if I could just have you take a deep breath, because I just have some academic and student affairs updates for the last 10 minutes that I want to share with everyone. One more. So I'm going to hit on student affairs first, and this is really to tell you about things that are happening this year. And I have to say, before I start this presentation, last night I was looking at Hera's presentation, and it's happy. It's just like her personality, and there's lots of pictures. And I said, well, you know, mine is kind of like my personality. I just have a couple bullets, and I want to get the information out, and then I want to let people go, you know, do what they have to do, because I know they're busy. So I think we make a good balance with each other, and it's fun to see both of our sides. So in student success, with our focus on retention, you know, it's not just, I'm so excited about the enrollment, but now we want to keep the students here. And there's great things that go on in the classroom every day, but I also wanted to highlight some of the new programs that we have for student success. And the first one is RSVP. So it's the Rader Student Value Program. So all the data shows that there is a certain number of students. So if a student comes in and they are a top student, they're going to be great when they're here. If a student comes in and they have stumbled all through high school, sometimes you can't help them. Some of them will have a lot of grit and they'll complete, but some of them, it's really hard to get them to succeed. But where we, as educators, can make the biggest difference is all of the people in the middle. So we wanted to try something with predictive modeling, because for last year, we did so many projects, and they're all wonderful things, but how do you know which one is working when you're doing 13 new things a year? So we wanted to try something new, and what we're doing is looking at whether it's a transfer student or a student coming from high school. We wanted to try to reach students before they went into academic probation or suspension. So we are using GPA, and we are pulling students together that are right around a 2.0. And we have different success teams that are going to work with them, and we want to help them to be successful before they would fall below and go on academic warning in any way. So we're going to try this, and then it's really good for us to run data, and we can see if that helps. But we have 3 different teams that's going to be working out of the link with the students to see if we can make a big impact. Also, with our online students, our hybrid students, you know they have to log in the first week of class, otherwise we drop them. And we wanted to reach out to make sure that sometimes our students don't know that, and if it's an online course, I know when I took online courses, by week 10, I'm like, ooh, I better log in and start doing something or I'm not going to be successful. So we wanted to make sure our online students knew that. So we have a calling campaign going on where we're all dividing up all of our online students on campus, and we're just going to reach out to them to make sure that they know about our policy so they don't get dropped. Early alerts, if you have an early alert and you're concerned about students, please email Susie. There's a form online. Also, this fall we will have Allison Medic, another counselor on campus part-time, so please email one of them, and they will divide out where the early alerts go depending on if it's academic or if it's a personal issue. So please do that. And then the equity, we have an equity plan, and that is, you know, the system office wants every college to have an equity plan. And I have to say both Mary and Charles were leaders. We actually got to present at the system office. They said ours was one of the best and a benchmark, and they wanted other schools to see what we were doing. And so we are working with targeted students and in nursing and athletics to see if we can provide extra support for our diverse student body to help support them through so they can be successful. And we started with a small group because we want to see what activities help them to become successful. So all the teachers in that area, the faculty members, they've been working really hard and really open and giving us ideas and letting us try new things to work with them. So that's been great. And we will continue our work with the Delta Dental grant to help support the students in your area. So Hera talked about the Student Success Academy, so we're all pretty excited upstairs. You know, we turned in our report to HLC, and we had great feedback, and although they didn't give us any opportunities to work on, the work is never done. And so the next part of our accreditation is we have to decide on a project. That's the next phase. And instead of deciding on a project, what we want to do is we decided that we wanted to join the Student Success Academy. And so we will have a mentor. We'll be taking a team of 5 to 6 twice a year to Chicago. And so you can see on there, we're looking for a faculty member from each campus who's really interested in student success, and it's a 3-year commitment to be working on this project. We'll be working with other colleges from around the United States. We'll be looking at best practices. Right now we're in the process of pulling all this data they wanted us to look at. And then we'll be working together to decide on a project this year, and then actually working on that project next year and the year after. So if you are interested, you know, please drop me an email and we can get you signed up to be a part of that, the Student Success Academy. Something that you'll get in your email box today, one of the requirements of the Student Success Academy is a perception survey. And I know you're all busy, and I know the last thing you want to do is a survey. They have specific dates that we have to send it out and turn it in. So we have like 12 days and then we have to get it back to them. I can tell you, I did go in and take the survey. It's very easy. It took me less than 5 minutes. It asked me what I did at the college and then how I help students succeed. So, I mean, it was really quick. Please see that email today and try to complete that, because I'd like to get a high percentage of going into our academy and figuring out a project. We need your feedback for that. So ADVID is something else that we're working on. Some of you have been working with Paul and going to the conferences the last 2 summers. We have a foundational grant that allows us to help train faculty and staff in AVID. And what AVID is advancement via individual determination. So what it does is it gives you high engagement strategies that you can utilize in your classroom. And a part of this grant, we have people from AVID that are going to be on our campus September 26th and September 27th. And we'll be offering workshops for faculty and staff in the afternoon of the 26th and in the morning of the 27th. Anyone is welcome to attend, but it's really to give you good strategies that you can utilize in your classroom. And then we talked earlier about the mental health initiatives, so I don't have to touch on that again, but there'll be more emails, and remember to pick up any of the posters or flyers. So online advising, this summer we have some online students and they don't want to come on campus. So we're looking for ways that we could advise them. So we have launched an online advising. It doesn't mean that all students will use it, but it's for those few students that don't want to come on campus or are just taking a class. They might go to a university now and they're jumping in to take a class here to help move them along. It's so we can advise them and it doesn't have to be over the phone. We have done video modules. Dan is doing this in the advising center. And what those are, a lot of times students, you know, if you don't pull a DARS report every day, which I don't think any student does on campus, sometimes you forget how to read it. So he's done short video modules that students can log into and watch in 2 minutes or less just to get information about, you know, a very targeted specific subject. And the PASS program, Susie and Allison will be running the PASS labs, so that is still going on, and we're running a lot of data with that this year to see how effective it is and where we want to go with that for next year. And I just want to remind you about the eye care team. We do have little cards, but we have different levels. And if you don't have a card for your classroom, you know, always if you think there is a danger in your classroom for you and a student, oh, Mary has some cards back there. Please, your first call is 911, but there are different levels, and there are people on campus. I know you can't read it because it's such short, you know, it's too many words on a screen, so unless you're straining your eyes, you can't read that. But there are cards available. There are different levels, and we are here to help you. And we have an eye care team in place that can help you manage hard situations. So we also, in student success, we want to focus on completion. And one of the things that worries me is our number of students that are completing is going down. And I often hear that, well, our students met all the requirements, they just didn't fill out the paperwork, they didn't care about the degree, they just got the job, or they were just going to take the different board exams. Please, please, you know, if you have a student who has completed all the academic programming, I think it's very important that they fill out the paperwork so they can get their degree. Not just for us, but it's important for them. They should be very proud of that. They've worked hard for that. So please, if you can talk about it in your classroom and really promote, you know, once you've completed, fill out this paperwork so you can graduate and get your award in the mail. You don't have to go through the ceremony, but you still want the award sent to you. We are working with the system office. They have a new project called Degrees When Due. And we have been working on this project last year, but they're expanding it now.
And what they do is they pull data at the system office and they send us a list every month of people who are close to graduating and don't have a long way to go to meet that. So now that's sent to our transfer center, and we have a team that reaches out to those students and help them plan and help encourage students just to finish the last couple classes so they can obtain their degree. And also, it helps us work with other educators outside the systems on some of their practices to see what they're doing that really works. We really want to target what we're doing because we are a small workforce, so we don't want to do 27 initiatives. We want to do fewer initiatives that have higher impact, that where other schools have seen great success. And then last year we received a grant for the University Center that will be right across the hall from St. Scholastica. And with the University Center, we will have people traveling from 3 different universities, and they will be on our campus monthly. And the goal is that when a student is done here, many of our students in the area, they don't want to travel to St. Cloud. They want to stay either at their house, or it's cheaper for them, or they work in the area. So what this will do is they can stay here. There's an application they can fill out here. They'll also fill out one for the other college. But they can utilize the resources on campus, so they can still participate in our student life. We'll still help them with their financial aid paperwork, but they can stay right here on our campus, use our computers, do printing, and take an online program there, and their advisor will be traveling here once a month to help them. So that opens this fall. It is a grant that has, I think it's 5 other 2-year colleges and a couple universities. I might not be exactly right on that number, but it is a combination of us that we receive funding. And what the funding is it helps the travel costs for those universities to come here. So in academic affairs this year, in the transfer pathways, we'll be working on exercise science and sociology. Last year, we did the psychology and the economics, and we have many students applied into the psychology. Economics, that was approved later in the year, so we're hoping to see new applicants in that area. We are working with the faculty to redesign our engineering program. We're starting with an applied engineering. They're reviewing. We'll set up a meeting. We have a design plan. We want to work with the faculty to see, is this right? Is it this, would there be jobs after? And then once we've decided on that, we'll go back and look at a broad engineering, the transfer pathway for that. We did receive, with a lot of work from Keith and Kari, our solar grant. And so you'll see that the solar panels are being installed on West, Staples, and Brainerd. And we will have programming ready for next year to launch here. And then the education transfer pathways, anybody who's been a part of that, we get really excited, we do a lot of work, and then they stop. And then all the policies and procedures change. So right now with the actual education transfer pathway, that is paused at the moment, but the early childhood education pathway now is moving forward. Last year it was the exact opposite. So this is a day-by-day change, and a lot of that change is due to working with the Department of Higher Ed, and we are working with them and changing with them and trying to adapt as quickly as they are changing. So it is still a goal that we have. It just may not happen for a while. So last year, through shared governance, we worked out, we've now moved, to some procedure changes. Last year we designed a new end of course survey. So I think you used to do every course. You had an end of course survey. Now you do not have to do that. I think you pick one course a year, but we have to figure out how are we going to launch that and get it written on paper. You know, or how do we document how the faculty let us know? So we'll just be working on that this fall. It's just the process of it. It's already gone through that it's only going to be one class a year. And just because it's one class a year doesn't mean you can't survey all your classes. It's just up to you. I know in many of the technical programs, the students would get the same survey for every class, and it's the same teacher. So they felt strongly of, why do we have to do this? It's a lot of work for the students. So that's why the change was made, but we just have to work on the process together for that. One of the things that is a change, and it's a change for this college, in the contract language, my interpretation is, and Gay is right here, so she can yell out if she doesn't agree with me, is that if you're a part-time faculty, that your max is either 30 or 32 credits based on if you're green or blue. And that we don't go over that. And in the past, that hasn't ever been followed at Central Lakes. So I just wanted to make sure that people know that we are moving to follow that. And if you have questions, you can call me. But that's a change for here, and so I just wanted to make sure people knew that. And we also, over the summer, sent out feedback about FN grades. And so we had a practice in place. You guys were great about doing LDAs and helping us with financial aid, but sometimes there was a number of students where we learned that they had never attended when grades were submitted at the end of the semester. And we had a practice here that we just wiped out the student's class and the grade, and we took away any of the dollars that they owed us. And so we still have to do something with those students. And so, but the academic class is going to stay there. We still will wipe out the dollars. We don't want to hold the students accountable. And it's a lot of work for us, because if we sent them for 2 collections, they probably wouldn't pay. But we don't want to change that academic record. And so that's just a change in how we did it before. And then OER, we do have a faculty lead coordinator. That's Lori Beth Larson. I want you to let you know that Minnesota State is working on a federal OER grant, and what that grant will do is work with all of the nursing programs and their curriculum if they receive that grant. There will be there's an opportunity for fall or learning circles this fall semester, and just reach out to Martha if you're interested in those. And then there's continued momentum around the state, around the nation regarding OER, because they know that the cost of books are really high for students. So there is still a lot of momentum around it. For assessment, we've changed the name. We're still looking at it as assessment, but our theme has been inspired learning, and Bruce and Alita have taken over that faculty role this year. So just touch base if you have questions about assessment. April 12th is our assessment day in service. Other updates from the campus: we have a committee that's been working all summer. We want to be designated as a yellow ribbon campus, which means that we're friendly to veterans and their families. So we have a plan going in place with that designation, which we are planning for next fall. The governor would come out and designate us, and a lot of activities around that. If that is something, we have a small task force just working on that. But we do such good work with veterans. It's really important that we have that designation showing the good work that we're doing. There's been some classroom and facility updates. I think the biggest one was 354. That was, is that right? The big classroom. The chairs have been changed. That now will also work for live online courses. Some of the technology has changed, but I know all summer there has been painting going on, new chairs, new tables in different classrooms. So please, as you go back to your classrooms today, try your technology, look at the way things are set up. Let us know if something needs to be different for your first day of the semester. Housing, I just wanted to give you an update about housing. Last year was our first year with housing, and it was a great experience, and I think we learned a lot. Last year, we wanted to be very involved, and it seemed we were kind of over-involved in student conduct, and we were crossing a lot of lines, not intentionally, but we went into something new, and we didn't know what we wanted from the end of it. So what we learned is it might be better for us to really keep housing. Yes, we own it. Yes, we want it for our students, but to really keep it very separate. So if you have students that have issues in the apartment, now all that referral goes to D.W. Jones. So please don't call Jana, please don't call Mary. If you do have an issue, you can call me, but really have the student call D.W. Jones, because they are handling it just like if a student would be at another apartment, they would go to their apartment managers. And so that's how we're working that now. Our customized training, we became a part, it's now called the Northwest Region Workforce Development Solutions. It is a long name for customized training. It means us and a few of our college are now a regional workforce training development center. Becca is working very closely with GL. So GL is the customized training director at M-State. He is leading that region. We have been working with all the people who work in customized training, and they're developing a plan, and they're working with the presidents. But really what it means is that we'll be able to offer a lot of different training in our area, because we're going to utilize each of the students or each of the school's strengths. So if we don't offer something, let's say in leadership, and M-State does, and somebody in our area wants it, now Central Lakes will be able to offer leadership classes here through us, but it may be a faculty member from M-State. So that is what the regional workforce development centers are. And I just want to let you know that we are expanding our testing center. We are offering more tests. Now people can go in online, or soon they can go in online and set up for tests. So it's just an expansion. We may generate revenue on that, but also we're doing it because the community is calling us and wants some of the additional tests, so we want to meet their needs. So I tried to talk really fast. I know you have another meeting to go to. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or anything that I didn't cover? Okay, thank you. I hope you have a great start of the semester.